Okay then, so this is a bit of a different one. Usually I do videos just on matches and different things around Manchester United, but I thought, you know what, I want to open up my horizons a little bit. It's a bit dark today, but hey ho. Yeah, it's got to the point where it feels like if I'm not making matchday content, I have nothing to do, which it just narrows what I can do far too much. So I thought I'd do something like this. This just opens up the horizons a bit more, go through, and I'm still fairly new to this whole YouTube scene. I did it back in the day, but yeah, it's very different in terms of what I'm going to be doing now. And I'm fairly new in the whole social media scene. I've got a fair few of you now around, but I don't think many of you actually know anything about me, which is how a lot of people like it. But if I want to get started in this whole thing, if I want to be, I don't know, just in this sort of realm, I need to be a bit more open, just talk about certain things. And for that, I thought I'd just open up the space a bit, ask you guys to ask me some questions. I've got a few come in. I'll be doing this again another time. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions in the comments down below, or if this is on YouTube or on Twitter, just any other questions. I will go through them and I'll speak on them in the future. But I just thought, yeah, I'd just go through a few questions. Just those of you that are new, just to learn a few things about me and learn a few things about what I think about, really. So we're going to start off by going on to Twitter. I've asked this on Twitter and using another app called NGL, not gonna lie, where you can ask questions anonymously, and I have that on my phone. But let's pull up some of these questions here. Let's go for the first question, which is a really good question, from Matthew Fox. He says, why do Manchester United miss out on so many young prospects that go on to become superstars? And he's listed a few, like De Bruyne, Haaland, Bellingham, yet spend so much on utter dross such as Martial, Pellistri, Ferreira. Is it poor scouting, or does our development really, really suck? It's a bit of both, really. We've had it for a long time now where United have been linked with really good young talents. Haaland, the likes of them, when he had, it felt like a tap-in. Ollie was at Mulder and he recommended we speak to Mulder about signing him, and then he tried to sign him again when he was at Manchester United himself. That whole Mulder deal felt a bit weird, just because of the fact that, I don't know how many people know the story of it all, but United had arranged a meeting to speak with Haaland and the representatives at the time. When he was at Mulder, this was just before he went to Salzburg, because again, Ollie was pushing us. He was saying this kid's a real deal, look at him, get him involved. United were at that point, I think it would have been Lukaku, so we were still looking for probably a long-term fix, although Lukaku was very good at the time. He just was never going to fit, if it even was Lukaku. I can't even think that far back. But yeah, basically, we had discussions with Mulder. We were trying to get him in, and we arranged a meeting. I can't remember the specifics of it all, so let's just make some up, essentially, but it's the right gist of it. So we arranged a meeting at, let's say, 2 p.m, and he had a meeting with Salzburg at 2:30 p.m. The whole point was we were going to phone him, convince him to join Manchester United, and then he was going to go speak to Salzburg. If he didn't like what they were saying, he was just going to go, I've been speaking to Manchester United, sling it, I'm going there. But what Manchester United failed to do was find out which 2 o'clock it was. 2 o'clock in England, 2 o'clock in Norway, two very different things with the time zone situation. So it meant that when we phoned him at 2 p.m, it was actually 3 p.m. for him, which means he's already had his conversations with Salzburg and he's gone, yeah, I was going to talk to Manchester United, but they've blown me off, therefore I'm going to ignore them and I'm going to go with you. It very much sums up Manchester United in the sense that we always find some sort of way to mess up what could be a tap-in of a deal, and it just shows the incompetence that we have, really, and it's a really unfortunate story. And then we had a similar situation with Jude Bellingham in the sense that we found him early. We found him when he was at Birmingham. He renewed his contract with them so that his release clause wasn't as low, and he can get some money out of Birmingham. And then when we went in for him, we rolled out the red carpet. We took him to Carrington. We had him walk around with a few different people just to try and make sure that he knows we want him. And then we turned around and said, we've got Fred and McTominay, we want you to come in, but we can't guarantee you minutes. And at that point, he's just had some sort of inquiry by Borussia Dortmund, and they've gone, we've got lots of guys here who are incredible talents. Look at what our youth development's done in the past, and we can guarantee you minutes. And he's gone, I'm going there. He's very intelligent. He's looked at what was the best move for his career, and in the end decided to go with that rather than the big name, which is frustrating for us because, you know, we've seen what he's gone on to do. But fair play to him for that. So yeah, we have had the opportunities to sign some really good players in the past, and we've just found some sort of way to ruin it. At the same time, when it comes to our scouting department, it has been well documented in the past that when we do look at players, we look at basically how big the player is and what they can do for Manchester United. We look at it more what they can do for the brand rather than what they can do for the footballing side, which is why we've got the likes of Alexis Sanchez. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo in. We've got all these big name players. We rarely go for those like unheard of players just because of the fact that it's a known thing that there is that Manchester United tax every time we go in for a player. They're going to be worth that little bit more. The other teams are going to ask that little bit more. And so once you're going in to sign a 15, 20 million pound player and they're asking for 35 million, you may as well go for that player that's actually worth 35, 40 million and get them. It's just one of those things where we're incapable of getting a player at their value. So once their value becomes inflated, it doesn't feel worth it, and you go for someone that is actually rated at the value in which the original person was by the other club. So it gets to the point where every single value is inflated and we go off and we sign people that we didn't actually want in the first place, or people that aren't as good a fit as the first person just because the first price wasn't right. This is something that should hopefully be improved in the future with the likes of Richard Arnold, John Murtaugh. Who was it before that, and who was our negotiator? We've had a fair few people leave recently. Yeah, so you'd hope that that's some sort of situation that will improve in the future. When it comes to our youth development situation, because that was the second part of the question, the scouting, although we are quite good at finding players, we're not very good at securing them. We're not willing to go that extra mile to bring them in, and because it's Manchester United, end of the day, we want to become a sustainable club. We want to become a club that's going to build to the future, but we've seen the pressures that people get under. If you're not pulling your weight, if you're not showing your value every single year, then you have questions asked of you. We're seeing it already with Ten Hag. He won us a trophy in his first season, and he's already on the chopping block because he's had a poor start to the second season. We saw with Louis van Gaal, winning a trophy, it just isn't enough if you're not in the Champions League. We saw with Jose Mourinho, he did well. He got second place. He got in the first season. He got a trophy. He got 2 trophies. Well, he wants to say 3 trophies, but I don't count the Community Shield. And as soon as it started to disappear, he went. It's such a cutthroat business, especially with Manchester United, that you can't really afford to bring in a youngster if they're not at that top level, and our scouting department isn't good enough to know whether they can fully fit in. So when that's the case, you have to go for those people that are more established, ones that you know can come in and actually get you those results straight away, which is why we have in recent times gone for the likes of Casemiro or Raphael Varane, who are very, very, very good players, but they're on the crescendo of their careers. They're going to come in and you know what you're going to get out of them, but you're not going to get anything more. And that can become an issue, especially when you look at us at the moment. We're trying to do a whole squad reset. And if you look at our team last season, we had Christian Eriksen, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes as our midfield. All 3 of them are in and around 30. That's the engine room. That's what you want to build on for as a club. You want to set up your midfield and build around them. They're the engine room. They're the most important positions on the pitch. And we had a very, very good engine room last season, and we saw that. But it's not a sustainable long-term engine room, which is why we've gone for the likes of Amrabat, who's 27. We've gone for Mason Mount, who's in his mid-20s. And now we're looking at other options. And we've also got the likes of Kobe Mainoo coming through. So we are starting to look at that engine room and starting to improve it. But when we saw Jude Bellingham, he is a midfielder. He would have been a really good age profile to bring in. But we couldn't guarantee that he would be at this level right now. And if he did join us, there's no guarantees he'd be at the level he is now then. But with our development, it's difficult because, as I said, it's you want them to come in and they have to bring in results straight away. There's no guarantees about that, especially at Manchester United at the moment. So when it comes to our youth development, we have only the elite of our academy players will come through. We've seen it like Alanga, did really well, came in, scored a few important goals, and then just teetered off because we overused him. And then we found his true level, and he's now gone on. He's doing quite well at Nottingham Forest. When it comes to development, I just don't think we've had like that elite of the elite come through yet. To be honest, we have a really high level academy in terms of we do create a lot of talent for other clubs, but we haven't really had that person come through since we've had the Mason Greenwood situation. Since he came through, he was dubbed to be the next big thing, and then before that was Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay. So although we do have some players that do break through, our development isn't great, but we just haven't had that level coming through just because of our youth development and scouting isn't great. We're starting to see that turn a corner, and we've got the likes of Kobe Mainoo coming through. We've got Dangor, Shea Lacey. We've got a fair few people that do look really good in the academy. So we will actually start to see now how our youth development and the progression in terms of that pathway into the academy into the first team is. So I think that a lot of the time our scouting hasn't been good enough, and then our development makes it look worse just because we haven't got the players. I hope that answered the question. That was very, very, very long-winded. Let's see if I can find some more, shall I? I mean, there's a few questions in here that... I mean, I did say ask me anything. Eric Ten Heisenberg saying, do you prefer boxer shorts, Y fronts, or tanga briefs? Okay, I just said it's gonna be open. I'm a boxer shorts type of guy, you know. Gotta let them breathe. I did not think that'd be so many questions gonna be popping up, but hey ho, if that's what you want to ask, that's what you want to ask. Another question here is, what do you see? This is by Mikel Kays. What is the role of Bayindir? He was always going to come in as that backup option. We've seen a turnover in goalkeepers recently, so we lost David De Gea, obviously, when his contract ran out. We didn't renew it, and then we did sell on Dean Henderson. We removed Dean Henderson. So it's obvious we need to bring in two goalkeepers. Andre Onana was the first choice, and then it was just about bringing in someone that could have been happy being backup but could push him. Altay Bayindir is of a very good level, and we saw this with Jose Mourinho when we had David De Gea and Sergio Romero as his backup. When you have really high level backups, it just pushes that first choice keeper that little bit further. Onana hasn't shown what we want him to show in terms of his consistency. He's been far better recently in the league, but we see him, it's almost every game now in the Champions League has let us down at some sort of stage. So hopefully that doesn't continue, but if it does, Altay Bayindir does need to get given an opportunity. He came in fairly cheap, and for a goalkeeper he's actually not that old. He's fairly established in terms of, I've known about him for a fair few years now. Let's see, I think he's 25, 26? Let's have a look. Altay Bayindir. He is 25. So yeah, he's got a fair decent amount of experience. He's been first choice goalkeeper out in Turkey. But yeah, I think he's a really high level goalkeeper in terms of backup. He is very no nonsense in terms of he's a decent shot stopper, very good at commanding his box, but he isn't the best on it with his feet. If we look at Onana as like the Edison mould, in terms of his main focus is his ability on it with his feet and sweeping and just that limited distribution. I look at Bayindir, I'm not going to compare them in terms of quality, but I look at Bayindir as more of the Alisson situation, where he's more focused on his commanding of his box. He's actually quite a good 1v1 goalkeeper, but his actual ball playing is second focus after his goalkeeping, which is going to be something that Manchester United fans will be happy to hear, considering the whole situation we've had with Andre Onana, with him and his shot stopping being a bit iffy because it's weird. His body shape is all wrong. I might do something on this in a future date, but the main gist of goalkeeping is you want to start low and build high. So when you're preparing for a shot, you do want to get that a little bit lower. You want to basically put your body weight onto your legs and you can spring off of them. You basically want to get low and you want to use your full body. What Onana likes to do is he likes to stand high, likes to look like a big physical presence. But what that does is when you're wanting to go to ground, you have only got so much time and so much power in terms of wanting to get yourself down low. It's a lot easier to start low and get high than it is to start high and get low. So when you see, we saw it with the Bayern Munich goal, we saw it with Brentford goal, and we've now seen it with that second goal against Galatasaray, where he struggles when the ball is like just between, just by his feet. He struggles to just shift his body weight quickly just to get himself down. We saw it, he went with his fist because he didn't trust that he can get his full body weight behind it. That's why he went for his fist, because usually in that situation you want them to go down low and you want them to get either two hands or you want them to get what they describe as like a soft hand. You want him to be able to get all the weight out of the ball and just so that he can claim it. But what he did, because he didn't trust himself to get down low enough, he had to go with his fist and try and push it wide. And once he did that, he misread the flight of the ball. He thought that Martial was going to header it, so in which case he wasn't too focused on it per se. And so when he did get low, he just threw a fist at it, and because of that, he's gone for power instead of finesse, because he knows that he can't get his body weight behind it and stop it. And when you go with power, it's either going to go out, it's going to go left, it's going to go right. Unfortunately for him, if it went out, it's been cleared. If it went right, it's gone past the post, but it's gone left and it's gone under him. So his sort of goalkeeping fundamentals are a bit wrong. Like I said, you need to start low. We see it all too often with goalkeepers like him, where their fundamentals are just a little bit off. He's very unorthodox. We see it. We saw it with David De Gea. We saw it with Edwin van der Sar as well. They do start low, which is why you saw that typical finish when we used to play against Fernando Torres. He did it quite a lot, where he would charge down the goalkeeper and he'd run towards the near post, and then he'd just aim near post top corner, because he knows that the keeper's going to go down low, in which case the only place you can put it is that top corner, so it makes them guess. So it is beatable if you want to go low, but it is a lot more favoured for a goalkeeper to get low, because people are going to go for low finishes, because that's what you're taught. You're taught to go down low and aim for the corners. Top corners are they're nice finishes to do, and they're favoured from long distances, mainly just to get it over the players. But when you're attacking, you're taught to go down low and down for the corners, because goalkeepers do struggle to get there, especially when they're running out to you. It's difficult for them to shift their body weight quickly just to get down low. So when you're in that sort of situation with Onana and you're waiting for a set piece, you should be low waiting, but he just simply wasn't. Okay, let's have a look at some other questions here. I've gone on a fair few tangents already. Let's see if we can find another one, shall we? I've got some nice messages here saying they love my style. I really, really appreciate that. Like I said, it's just how I like to think, really. My whole thing was that I like data and I liked statistics, and I also like football tactics, which is why I got my coaching badges. And to be able to put it out there and help any of you if you need any further understanding, or just to maybe look at things a little bit differently, it's just what I like to do, and I appreciate hearing people enjoy seeing that too. Someone saying, "Oh, I miss you, haven't seen you in a while." Whoever that is, get in touch. I'll speak to you again. Number one signing for the summer. Okay. It's difficult. It all depends on what happens in January, to be honest. We definitely have targets. I think that if we were to look at who we're looking for, we're going to look at a right-sided centre-back. We're going to look at number 6, depending on situations with Casemiro. We're not too sold on Amrabat. We're looking at Kobe Mainoo as well, what his development's going to look like. We're going to look at a number 8, I imagine, because Mount hasn't quite cut it just yet. I'm not saying he won't, but we need that more domineering. We need an Eriksen replacement. He's on the wrong side of 30 now, so we need someone who's going to replace him in the long term. So we're going to look at his replacement. So We need that, and I think we're gonna look for a striker and perhaps a winger. We're looking to sell Greenwood. Will probably go in the summer. It's touch and go is what's going to happen there, but I think he probably will go. And then Jadon Sancho, he's gone already. And at that point, I think Palestri's going to go out on loan too. That was the original plan. The original plan was to send Palestri out on loan because there are certain things he needs to improve upon, and those do come with practice. His clinical edge needs to be improved, and his physicality needs to improve. Both of those really only improve from experience and from just playing minutes. You improve physicality, you can improve it in the gym, but that little extra edge that you can only get from playing football and learning how your body operates. It's difficult to nail down your style or get a repeatable action, especially from a winger, if you're not playing very often. So I think that he's probably going to go out on loan just to learn a bit more, really. Just to learn what sort of player he is. Because that's the thing. He is like a beats on the outside type winger. But that's about it. That's all I can really say. Whereas you can look at likes of Anthony, you can look at Marcus Rashford, you can look at all these players and you can pinpoint what type of player they are. I can't say that for Palestri just yet. You can say certain things he's good at, certain things he's bad at, but you can't pinpoint what his sort of style and technique is, and that needs to be refined. That's how you become a really good player. That's how you will get from the level he is now to the higher ups, is by learning your strengths, learning your weaknesses, maximising your strengths, minimising your weaknesses, and you do that from experience. And from that, he just needs to go out on loan. So because of that, we're going to have to look at a right winger. Whether that's long term in this vision of we need to replace Palestri if we are going to let him go permanently, I think we probably will do eventually. But we do need a new right winger, especially because Anthony, I really like Anthony. I'm one of his biggest defenders, really. I think he's been completely misprofiled, but we do need a different type of winger. We've got, on the left-hand side, we've got Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho. Whilst both have similar strengths, they are very different in terms of Garnacho's similar to what Marcus Rashford was when he broke through. He's very confident, he wants to get the ball, he wants to charge at people, he's got that little bit of edge to him, and he's got really good technique on him as well. Whereas Marcus Rashford's a little bit more inside, he wants to operate as an inside forward, he likes cutting inside, he likes going for goal, very physical, he likes spacing behind, whereas Garnacho can operate in a lot of different areas. We need someone that's similar to that on the other side. We haven't really got a beat your man winger apart from Palestri. Anthony's the type of person that wants to operate in tight areas and create spaces himself and play people into space. So we're probably going to look at a replacement for him. In terms of striker as well, we're probably going to look to ship Martial on. He just isn't at the level. He hasn't been for a long, long time. With Martial, he started off as a winger and then started to move into that number 9 position. He hasn't got the pace to be a winger, he hasn't got the work rate to be a winger, but he hasn't also got the intelligence in behind to be a striker. He's got decent high level link-up play still, because he's a good technical footballer, but he hasn't got the skill set of a number 9. We see him up with Rasmus Højlund when he plays. He's a lot better in the box than Marcus Rashford. Anthony Martial is. He's far more physically dominant, and his movement is really, really high level, as well as his pressing off the ball. That you just don't get that of Anthony Martial. So he's someone who's been moved on, and so because of that, I'm going to assume in January we do get a right centre back, because we're looking at Jean-Claude Todibo. So after that, I think it has to be a striker. I think the striker is my number 1 position, which is weird to say because Rasmus Højlund has just come in for a high fee, but we do need someone to come in at striker. So you know what, I'm going to operate off the assumption we only get in a short-term player. So I'm going to say we're going to get Trelemi in January, in which case one of Jean-Claude Todibo, Ousmane Diomande, or Gonzalo Inacio I really like, even though he's a left-sided centre-back. I'm going to say Jean-Claude Todibo is probably first choice, but it's tight. There's a fair few positions that need fixing. To be fair, was it João Neves? There's a fair few names in my head that I really like the look of. I can't say who my go-to favourite player to sign is, then I'm just going to give you the option of Jean-Claude Todibo, Ousmane Diomande, or João Neves. That's my three. How old are you? I am 22, unfortunately. I feel a lot older than I actually am. I feel younger than I actually am. It's weird. I was born an old soul, apparently. But I don't feel like I'm 22. Time has just flown by far too bloody quickly. What is your favourite Manchester United moment? It feels like a cop-out, but I'm going to say 07-08 Champions League final. I wasn't born for 99, I was born in 2001. As I said, I'm 22. So yeah, it was an incredible moment for the club. We won our third Champions League, or our second Champions League, third European Cup. And it's not just the actual match itself, because it was a decent match, but penalty shootouts, it wasn't convincing. But it's just, I think it's probably the earliest match I remember as well. I would have been, I think it was just for my birthday, so I would have been 7 at the time. So I can't really remember any matches before then, because I wasn't really meant to be watching too much football, and it was a lot more difficult to watch football back then. 2008 Champions League final. I remember it was really, really late. Like I said, it got to the penalty shootout, so it would have finished around 10, 11ish. I was a 7-year-old kid. I had school the next day, but I was allowed to stay up. I watched it. I was sat on my sofa with my parents watching the match, neither of which are Man United fans, but they stayed up and watched it with me. And it's just weird. I just remember watching it. I remember the feeling after winning. It's probably the earliest sort of memory I have of United, and it's probably the best one. And then apart from that, there's a few good recent memories in terms of that night at PSG was really good. Various different cup finals, Europa League finals, a good memory. And then maybe even just a fair few matches in 2013 when we won the league. And the other match, weirdly, that I can remember was against Aston Villa, the Makeda game. I just weirdly remember Ronaldo sticking at top bins from a indirect free kick after a pass back. It's just weird little memories of different matches that I have. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my first answer of my favourite United moment was 07-08. Favourite ever Manchester United player? That's a tough one. I'm probably going to say Wayne Rooney. I think it's a pretty tame, obvious answer because he was the main guy from when I was properly into it. But I'm going to say Wayne Rooney. I'm a big fan of, if I'm going to go more modern day, the likes of David De Gea, of course, long serving at the club. Marcus Rashford coming through the academy, Withenshaw lad. But I'm going to say Wayne Rooney. He is so criminally underrated. There's so many things he could do. He could play in any single position on the pitch and be the best player at it. He could play up front, he can play midfield, he can probably play in goal. We've seen clips of him playing in goal in different adverts and stuff like that, and he's just Wayne Rooney in goal. And it's just, there's so many good things about him, there's so many good memories from him. But if I was to go for a bit more of a rogue shout, I was a really big fan of Raphael. I was a right back for 10 years and I used to model a fair bit on him. I used to watch him a fair bit. Just little, small, scrappy lad, likes to fight. Can't really fault him, really. God, I'd love him in this team right now. But yeah, I think Wayne Rooney's my cop-out answer. Not sure I can read that question. I'm going to leave that another day. So yeah, I've got a few other questions, but I'm not really sure where I can say it. The person who wrote this question, I'm going to assume they know the question I'm referring to, and so because of that, I'm going to say not much. So, if you know who you are, that's your answer. Not much. Let's have a quick look. See if there's anything else come through. No. And someone else saying, I love seeing you happy. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. There's comments like that the reason why I am. Well, most days. Any news for United just while I'm here? No, nothing really. Okay. Well, it's been a long one. I didn't think it was going to be this long. It's been half an hour filming. If you're still here, Thank you very much. And yeah, leave any questions down below if you want me to answer anything in the future. Feel free to ask. I am down to film anytime, and yeah, I need some sort of excuse to do it. Otherwise, I'm just not going to do it. But I am fully intending to actually bring my YouTube back again and start doing videos more consistently. But I do need some sort of inspiration because, like I said, I don't want to just be doing matchday content. That's what got me a bit bored last time. It felt a bit samey. So yeah, I need to think of some ideas of what I'm going to do. And yeah, I've do a fair bit of player related content on my Twitter profile, so I might start doing that on YouTube as well. I'm not entirely sure. It's just editing's not really my thing. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm probably going to try and do some sort of little snippet content preview for the game on the weekend, which is going to be a tough one against Newcastle, who are really struggling at the moment. They had a good game against PSG, where they did go on to draw, and they hopefully that knocked their confidence a little bit, and they have been struggling recently because of various injuries. But we didn't get that excuse, so they don't either. But yeah, hopefully it should be a good one. I will do a video on that one, and I will see you guys then. Peace.